Hello and welcome to another step-by-step guide to a yoga posture. In this video we'll look at Parivrtta Trikonasana, or the Revolved Triangle posture, the reverse triangle it's also called. All of the triangle practices are really expansive for the body, for the mind and for the spirit. It's part of the symbolism of yoga that the triangle symbolises infinity, eternity, the universe essentially. For me, of all the triangle practices, the Revolved Triangle is the one that seems to really stimulate the energy of the chakras which run through the spine the most. The chakras are energy vortexes or roundabouts of energy that run in a channel through the spine. And they begin at the base of the spine with our physical body, our physical existence, physical survival, material existence, material survival, material needs. And they run right through a range of emotions and modes of self-expression that we will utilize during the course of our lives to higher love, higher expression, and the enlightenment of the spirit. And as human beings, we have all of these elements. We have a physical existence, but we also have a highly developed emotional existence and a spiritual existence. And we need to be able to work with all of these different aspects of our nature. And the way in which the spine is lengthened and revolved and the energy can flow, especially in the Revolved Triangle, helps us to unite the polarities that there are present in our nature. Polarity is present in everything. It's everywhere in the universe. It's part of how the universe functions, and it's part of how we function. But it's not always helpful when aspects of our polarity come forwards in the wrong context. And yoga helps us to be able to really work with these energy channels and the different ranges of our nature, being able to order them, to distinguish them, to have an element of control over them. It's not something that comes instantly by practicing the Revolved Triangle once or twice. I think it's something that gradually reaches us through the practice of Trikonasana, Parivrtta Trikonasana, and many other practices. But I feel that this is one of the distinct effects of the Parivrtta Trikonasana, or at least it has been for me. Let's gradually come into the practice where we're going to open up the back of the hips and the outer thighs. We'll also open up the backs of the legs and the inside hip joints and inside legs, preparing for the Trikonasana. We'll work a preparatory twist or two and gradually come up into standing to work the full apex position. You may find it helpful to have some yoga bricks for the standing part of the practice, or something else that you can use to rest onto to give you a bit of height or support to rest the arms onto. Let's roll down through the spine, letting the spine lengthen out, coming through towards the mat, spending a moment or two to adjust the position on the hips and the ribs and the head, supporting the head with the hands. And just letting the arms relax to the sides, and knees can be bent and the soles of the feet resting in contact with the mat. And spending a moment to really center our awareness to within our bodies, connecting with that length and breadth and depth of space that is the body. And just feeling our energy centered within our own body. A lot of the time our energy is moving outwards, focusing on other things, and just spending a moment or two to really ground our energy, our awareness, our concentration within the space of the body, from out of which we're going to flow this practice. And we're going to begin to work with a breath awareness practice, which will also bring our awareness to the spine. It's quite a simple practice, really. The idea is that as we breathe in, we're aiming to feel the front of our spine opening and lengthening as the breath draws into the body. And that with the exhalations, we're aiming to feel the back of the spine relax, all the little spinal processes on the back of the spine soften towards the tailbone, and the spine itself just gently lengthening towards the tailbone. So as you're breathing in, allowing the breath to dive through the nostrils and through the throat, letting the nostrils and the throat be relaxed to really receive the breath. And then imagining or visualizing the breath moving down over the front of the spine, opening and lengthening it. And again, with an exhalation, relaxing the back of the spine, all the spinal processes softening towards the tailbone, a sense of gently lengthening through the spine towards the tailbone. With the inhalation, as you're visualizing the breath moving over the front of the spine, it may be possible to imagine as well the breath creating space through the center of the depth of the body above the spine, breathing in and feeling that there's a real openness possible within the depth of the body from the breath. And then again on the exhalations, relaxing all the spinal processes on the back of the spine. Following the breath one last round in this way. And then from there again, just gradually bringing a little bit of movement back into the body, the toes and the feet and the fingers and the hands, and we can release the head and neck just gently side to side. And then from here, we're going to come into a twist. And to do this, we're going to bring the right leg up and crossing it over the left leg so that the thighs are resting one on top of the other. And then let's open the arms out to the sides in line with the shoulder joints, or you can always pop the hands into the back of the head and stretch out towards the elbows. But on this one, it may be better just to let the arms open wide. And as usual, ideally, the arms lengthen from out of the line of the collarbones, feeling a little bit of a stretch through the inside of your arm, right the way through to your fingertips. With the right leg uppermost, we're going to let the twist move over towards the left side. And just aiming to come over with a bit of abdominal strength, controlling the movement into the twist, letting the tailbone come through first and then the sacrum, a little bit through the waist. And we can use pressure into the left arm to help press the right shoulder back into the mat, and it's often very comfortable to look over towards the right side with the head and the neck in this twist. In this type of twist where the legs are crossed, we're aiming to really open, as well as freeing the spine in a twist, we're aiming to really open the outside of the hip and the thigh. And what tends to happen is that often the spine's got lots of mobility and we could come far into the twist, but you might notice if you were to try that a lot of the sensation of the muscles in the outer thigh opening and lengthening disappears. So it's not so helpful for the actual practice that we're aiming for here if we really work into the spinal mobility. What's more helpful is if we come into the twist a little way, and then having gone into the twist a little way, as we breathe out, we try to drop the hip back, drop the right hip back towards your right side as you release and lengthen through the right thigh towards the left side. So I'm just indicating that with my hands. It will work in fact much better with the arms out to the sides the way we started. So as you breathe in, you might be able to again create this lots of space over the front of the spine. And then just a little bit release into the twist, and then as you breathe out, sinking that right hip back and letting your right leg lengthen towards your knee. And then in theory, you should feel quite a reasonable opening through the outer thigh and into the back of the hip. And let's just breathe this through a last slow full round of the breath. And then from here, coming back to the center. And what I like to do, coming back to the centre so that I can keep my legs relaxed and I don't immediately lose all the flexibility that I've just been opening up, is to draw the breastbone to the spine, to squeeze the ribs in towards each other at the base of the breastbone, depress my abdominal muscles and wheel back onto my back, waist and hips coming through. And then just allowing my legs to relax in this position. We're going to keep the legs crossed and come into the supine half eagle, the Supta Ardha Garudasana. And this is practice which really lengthens the spine, but we do have to keep our awareness around the waist, because it can tend to be that on the right waist on this side, it will shorten the spine a bit as we bring the legs up and towards us. So as I bring the legs up and towards me, I'm already thinking about my spine, keeping it nice and lengthened, trying as best I can to keep the tailbone in contact with the mat. Now it may not stay in contact with the mat, and keeping this right waist nice and long. So I sometimes just really press my hands into the waist to do that, stretching the hips away from the ribs and the shoulders. And then from here, I can either hold underneath the backs of the knees, or I can reach around on top of the thighs, or I could pass a strap or a belt underneath the backs of the knees to support the legs in this position. Either way, as I reach towards the legs, there's a good chance that my neck arches, and then it's a very good idea to re-lengthen that again, tucking the chin towards the top of the chest. And also, there's a good likelihood that my tailbone rolls away from the floor here as well. So just thinking about, once you've got into this position, as best you can again, breathing in to visualize the breath over the front of the spine, lengthening through towards your tailbone. And as you breathe out, letting your back relax, the back of the spine relax, the whole of your back relax into the mat, and just gently the legs might move towards you or release a little bit forwards. So breathing in lots of space over the front of the spine, and breathing out, relaxing the back of the spine, relaxing the back of the body, seeing if the tailbone can stay in contact with the mat or move closer to the mat, and hugging the legs towards you. So we just work through a last slow full round of the breath here in the supine half eagle. And then gently and gradually, as you're ready, we're going to let go of the lower leg, the left leg, and at the moment on our right leg, the outer thigh is a bit lengthened, the inner thigh is a bit lengthened, and we've already started to open the hamstrings on the back of the thigh a little bit. So you've got this head start in a way, and just very gently and slowly keep lengthening the thigh forwards and towards you. And then as you've gently been bringing it forwards and towards you, let it turn to face you. If you can, sink that right hip into the floor and lengthening up through the back of your right leg. So now you might be holding high up near the ankle, or you might be holding quite a lot lower down. And again, the leg might be fully extended, or it might be that the knee is bent. And I would say in either instance, just see if you can, again, stretch your spine on the mat. And as you breathe in, visualizing the breath moving down over the front of the spine and opening space through the center depth of your body, right through into your pelvis and through to your sitting bones. And then again, as you breathe out, allow the back of your spine to relax, and the spine to lengthen towards the tailbone. And as your breath is flowing, maybe it's left a third or half of the exhalation's already gone. There's a moment usually when you can feel that your leg relaxes a little bit in your hip joint and it might move towards you. It's very, very helpful in these leg opening practices to think about your spine and your back relaxing and your leg following. So let's do another breath here as we breathe in the breath, opening space over the front of the spine and through the center depth of the body. And then as you breathe out, relaxing the back of your spine, letting it lengthen, your back relaxes into the mat. and the leg might move towards you just a little bit more. And then as you're ready, on an exhalation, I'm going to fold that leg in and down and just bring that foot through towards the floor. So there, having opened the outer hip and practiced a twist and opened the hamstrings on the right side, we're going to need to follow through with that on the other side. So we can just breathe in and breathe out to place our left leg, crossing it over the right leg. Breathing in just to lengthen our spine out here a little bit, then allowing your arms to open out towards the sides, and again on an exhalation with abdominal control, gently coming into the twist. So this time the twist moves towards the right so that we feel the deepest opening through the outside of our left thigh and into the back of our left hip. And on the first side, we were thinking about working with the muscles opening rather than the spinal mobility. And this is just again where as we breathe in, we can a little bit flow into the twist. And as we breathe out, it's as if we're sinking the left hip back towards the left side again as we aim to lengthen the left thigh a little bit away from the hip. So it could be again that it feels quite nice to let the head turn in the opposite direction from the twist through the lower body. You might again here be able to breathe in and feel that sense of space opening up over the front of the spine on the inhalations, and then with the exhalations the back of the spine softening just a little bit, the legs moving over towards the left side and the hip trying to stabilize back. The legs moving over towards the right side and the left hip trying to stabilize back towards the left side. So really breathing, and we're going to work through a last slow full round of the breath here, and then as you're ready, on an exhalation, wheeling back. So coming back, breastbone moving towards the spine, engaging the muscles beneath the breastbone, between the ribs, abdominal muscles working, and right back to the center. Spending a moment here again to really lengthen the spine, and with an exhalation keeping your spine quite long, releasing the legs up and forwards and towards you. And I do try to aim to lengthen through the inside of this upper thigh. So as well as opening on the outsides of the hips, I'm releasing through the inside of the leg. As my legs come closer and closer towards me, my tailbone does peel away from the mat. I'll try to bring it back into the mat as best I can afterwards once I've taken hold of the legs in the practice. But it may not make it. It doesn't matter. The idea is just to lengthen the spine as much as possible. So it's more important to grasp the legs, even if you lose the contact at the mat with the tailbone, than to keep that contact, because you'll feel as you grasp your legs and bring them towards you, either over the shins here or under the leg, that there's much more intense opening going on in the outside of this left hip piriformis muscle and through the outsides of your thighs. However, as on the first side, keeping this waist nice and long, so stretching. So again, you'll feel when you keep this left waist long, you'll feel the intensity of the opening in the outside of the hip much greater. Checking in that your neck is still long here. So the inhalations to open up over the front of the spine, and if you can, create space through the center of the depth of the body. And then on the exhalations, relaxing the back of the spine, all the little spinal processes sinking towards the tailbone. And let's just work through another 2 slow full rounds of the breath. It may feel quite intense here. Good. And then just gradually and gently as you're ready, letting the right leg release towards the floor, and you're in theory holding your left leg, and already the outside of the thigh is opening a bit in the inner thigh, and there's a slight start on opening the hamstrings and letting this leg lengthen forwards along the front of the body, and then just gently turning the leg towards you. And if you come quite slowly so that you don't lose the effects of the supine half eagle, that will be helpful for developing your hamstring opening here. So once again, you may be in this kind of position where you're able to hold the leg quite high up and your neck still stays relaxed and your shoulders broad, or it might be that you're better off just holding the leg a little bit closer to the hip at the thigh, and the knee might as well be bent. But in either case, as we breathe in, lots of space over the front of our spine, through the center depth of the body, and on the exhalations, relaxing the back into the mat. And as the breath leaves the body, you may meet a moment where your leg comes just a little bit closer towards you. Breathing in, really visualizing the breath rolling down over the front of the spine right through to the tailbone, creating space through the center depth of the body right through to the sitting bones, creating space at the hip joint there for them. And as you breathe out, relaxing the back of your spine and seeing if your leg will come towards you just a little bit. Let's breathe through here another couple of rounds of the breath. And then as you're ready again, on an exhalation, just folding that leg in. Let's just slide both legs away, giving the body a moment or two just to absorb all that opening and lengthening and releasing that we've been doing. And we can roll the arms and legs inwards and outwards a couple of times, just gently giving the spine a shimmy on the mat. From there, let's roll ourselves over, coming onto the side, and then pressing up and towards a seated position. And in seated, we're going to let the soles of the feet come together in front of us, positioning our feet at a distance from the hips that feels comfortable for our knees and for our ankle joints. And then here again, just working with lengthening and opening the spine. Let's come back to the same practice as we breathe in, of letting the breath dive down over the front of our spine. And then as we breathe out, allowing the back of the spine to soften and to relax. And if you can think about on the inhalation as you're opening the front of the spine, again this sense of space moving down through the center depth of the trunk of the body, right through to between the sitting bones. That will help to create a little bit of space there. And it allows you to widen your thighs into that space, or out of that space. And then as you're ready on the exhalation, keeping your spine long between the tailbone and the crown, so usually a bit of abdominal strength to help you with that, and letting the back of the spine relax. And let's work this through a couple of rounds of the breath. And then as you're ready, on an inhalation, we're going to breathe in and dive out and up of the Parivrtta Trikonasana practice, and let the legs come in together and relaxing them. From here, we're going to think about bringing ourselves up to standing and working a little bit more towards our Parivrtta Trikonasana practice. In standing now, we're going to continue to prepare for the triangle position by practicing a posture known as Parivrtta Trikonasana. And that's just basically a split forward bend. So we're going to let the right leg step forwards, just a gentle stride forwards, and then transferring a bit of weight towards our back leg, the left leg. And also that left leg usually angles a little bit, but this is to help with balance. We can roll the outside edge of that foot into the floor a little bit, spread and open our toes and get the base of the toe joints down firmly in contact with the mat, and let the ball of the foot be in contact with the mat as well. And then with the front leg, it's a little bit more that the foot is centered. Center of the heel and ball of the foot down, and then the pad of the little toe as well, just balancing them. So from here, let's think in terms of lengthening the spine forwards out of the hips, trying to keep a little bit more weight in our back leg than in our front leg. Lots of deep abdominal lift going on, that right hip reaching back and the left hip moving forwards. Now usually, in order to be able to lengthen the spine into this position, the front knee needs to bend. And it's always helpful to keep releasing through the insides of the legs, from the inside of the hip joint through to the inside of the heel. As you can see, I just work and play a little bit, finding the space in my body between my joints to help me open into the position. We don't have to come all the way down to the floor. We can use bricks to help us, to support us here. However, I would suggest, even if you've got the bricks, that you try to keep lots of strength in your body. Strength in your upper back muscles, your shoulder blades wide and moving down the back of your rib cage and waist all working, fronts of your thighs working, lower abdominal muscles lifted, and the breastbone and the spine moving towards each other. So let's just work another couple of breaths here, seeing again if you can connect with the idea of lengthening your spine on the inhalations. So right over the front of the spine, center depth of your body opening, and as you breathe out, allowing the back of the spine to soften and the tailbone to move away from the crown of the head a little bit. And then as you're ready from here, feet pushing into the floor, let's breathe in and roll up through our spine back to standing, and then we'll step that leg back again. So let's work it through as well on the left side. So just breathing in here, and then as you're breathing out, a little stride forwards. Thinking about the back leg, allowing it to angle a little. Outside edge of the foot rolling into the floor and the arch of the foot lifting. Ball of the foot down nice and firmly. Front foot centered, heel down, ball of the foot down, pad of the little toe down. And again, if you more or less think about your spine, lengthening out of your legs, if you imagine or think in terms of your hip bones as being part of your legs, coming forwards, really opening the spine, keeping a powerful lift in your lower abdomen, navel pulling to the spine. If you need support on the way through, use your thigh. More weight in the back leg than in the front leg. That sense of releasing through the inside legs as well as through the backs of the legs. And then we need to as well keep the left waist and hip, the waist long and the hip reaching back, and on the right side the hip swings forwards. So as I said on the first side, if it feels helpful to you, just taking up your yoga bricks to support the position. Still aiming to keep the strength in your body. Strength pulling up through the fronts of the thighs. Feet nice and firm. Abdominal muscles strong. And the muscles around your ribs and upper back strong. And here as well, we can breathe in and visualize the breath opening the front of the spine right back to the sitting bones. And on the exhalations, that sense of the back of the spine softening and the tailbone distancing itself away from the crown of the head, so that you're here. And then once again, we're going to breathe in and roll up through our spine back to standing. Good, so let's shake the legs out a little bit to give them a rest. And now we're going to come into the full position. And that essentially involves coming into the position where we just were and then adding a twist. And the twist will go towards our front leg so that our tummy will be towards the inner thigh of the front leg. So it will be like this. Again, it may be very handy if you've got yoga bricks or blocks just to pop them in here. So once again, nice and tall, thinking about our spine lengthening up out of the hips. If you think about your legs beginning in your pelvis, your spine lengthening up, and then we're going to release the right leg forward, the spine still long, a little bit of extra weight going into that back leg and the foot angled, pulling up through the fronts of the thighs and the feet very firmly grounded. And then as you're ready, letting the spine lengthen forward, so lots of strength surrounding the spine, and your right hip reaching back. So again, the front knee can bend. You still keep that sense of the sitting bone weight and the hip weight moving back. So we come through here, feet very strong. And then as we breathe in, we're going to lengthen the spine forward. So breathe in, open over the front of the spine, open through the center depth of your body using the breath. And as you breathe out, let the back of the spine soften and the tailbone reach back. So checking in with the strength that we thought about before, abdominal muscles, muscles in the back and the rib cage working. Your right hip reaches back and your left hip comes forward. And then you can support your left hand with it being supported on a block. You can bring your right hand to your right hip. And then we're going to move the left hip forwards and downwards, and then the left waist downwards, and the left ribs downwards, and the left shoulder downwards. As the right hip keeps moving back, and the right waist lifts up, and the right ribs lift up, and the right shoulder. And then here you could imagine your spine like a dotted line, breathing in to lengthen the spine over the front, dotted line of the spine, opening, breathing out, keep stretching and lengthening the line of your spine. So breathing here, trying to feel that you've got lots of strength in your body. You know, not just going into the block or the floor. And then once again, as you're ready, on an exhalation, gently unspiraling forwards again. Head can relax to the inside of that front knee, it can always bend. We can shuffle our left leg back a little bit, hands pressing into the floor, deep lift in your abdominal muscles, and breathing in to step that right leg back, to unfurl through your spine, reaching the hips up and as far away as you can from the head, and breathing out, abdomen lifts, heels sink, and again, that distance between the tailbone and the crown. So we breathe here. Just letting the spine relax and keeping the breath moving. And then let's little by little walk the hands back in towards the legs. And again, we're going to breathe in and roll up through our spines. So that was the first side of our revolved triangle. And then let's think about having a go on the second side. So once again, nice and tall, just knowing where your spine is, knowing it, you know, by the weight and feel of the spine, but also by the breath practice we've been working with, and carrying this breath practice really into our Trikonasana practice. So once again, releasing this time our left leg through the hip towards the heel, and then just breathing out to feel the spine really lengthening. And then the legs lengthening from the hips into the heels. Back foot angles a little, feet nice and strong on the mat, you know. Front foot very centered, back foot more weight to the outside edge and the arch lifted. And then from here, with lots of deep abdominal strength working, moving forwards, upper back nice and strong, rib cage engaged to the spine, lengthening in, weight moves to that back leg. Spine follows the line of the inside of the front thigh. Left hip keeps reaching back and the right hip moves forward. Front knee can bend. So again, if it feels helpful, taking support through breaks or blocks or books, whatever you've got, and keeping this front foot nice and strong. So then on an inhalation, this idea of letting the spine lengthen over the front of the spine as you bring it level to the floor. Upper back really strong, abdominal muscles working. So you've got the support through the bricks or blocks or even through your leg or the floor. but you try to feel most of your strengths in your body. The feet push into the mat, but you pull up through your thighs. Keep your abdominal muscles and your back muscles strong. And then your right hand comes to the instep of your left leg, or it can come to the outside of the leg. Breathing in to really open the spine, tailbone to crown. Think about the spine as a dotted line. And then your right hip moves downwards and forwards, and your right waist moves downwards, and your right ribs downwards, and your right shoulder. And on the left side, your left hip reaches back, and your left waist reaches up, ribs and shoulder. And then from here, if you're ready, you're reaching up into that left arm. So breathing here. Have lots of length through your spine from the tailbone to the crown. Opening that dotted line of the vertebrae. Breathing out. The back of your spine softening. Tailbone reaching back. Breathing. And then as you're ready, on an exhalation, unspiraling gently. Relaxing the spine forwards and downwards from the tailbone into the crown along the line of that front leg. Breathing in here, and once again unfurling through your spine, stepping that leg back, supporting the hips with a really deep lift in the lower abdomen, shoulder blades wide, moving up the back. Just a few moments in this sort of relatively short downward dog. We're just letting our spines really lengthen here. And breathing. And then on an exhalation, we'll let the knees bend, bringing ourselves back towards the mat, and we're going to relax the hips towards the heels or coming into the Mandukasana, the frog, to relax here. So once again, as you breathe in, if you create that space over the front of the spine, through the center depth of the body, right through to your sitting bones. And then again, as you're ready, coming down, really thinking about on your exhalation, the back of the spine relaxing and the space opening up again between the crown and the hip bones. Spending a few moments here breathing. And then again, gently, as you're ready, on an inhalation, we'll let the arms walk back in and towards us, letting our thighs come towards each other, and just spending a few moments now to relax, lying on the mat, just rolling down again through the length of the spine, letting it space out. It might feel comfortable here to just again release the legs to the sides, knees going out to the sides and the arms rolling open. Spend a few moments relaxing in the Supta Baddha Konasana, or otherwise the knees bent and soles of the feet on the mat, and the knees can just relax in towards each other, and again really here letting your back relax. Or of course we can let the legs lengthen right away, and just spending a few moments to be here at ease on the mat. Once again, coming back to thinking about the energy of the breath, thinking about the energy of the breath just flowing in over the front of the spine. With the exhalations, the back of the spine again softening and relaxing. Thinking about the energy in the different areas of the spine. The energy at the base of the spine, at the sacrum, behind the solar plexus, behind the heart center, behind the top of the breastbone. The space beneath the crown of the head and behind the center of the forehead. The energy on the crown of the head. Being aware of the quality of the energy all through the spine at present. Any different colours or characters or moods that there may be to the energy in the different areas of the spine and around the spine at present. Being aware, even if there are different qualities and registers of energy moving through the body at present, of any unity that may overlie that energy. Spending a few moments simply resting within any oneness or union or harmony that there may be through the body, through the energy of the body, and through the mind. As the awareness drifts in the energy that there is, becoming aware of that part of the awareness from out of which, at present, you observe the body, you observe the mind. Knowing at the same time this higher presence within. Knowing the higher presence at the same time as knowing the physical body, the weight of the body resting on the mat, and everything that there is within, in between. Again, spending a moment to acknowledge and to own any oneness, any sense of union or harmony that there may be here. And once again, just gradually feeling that all of the energy that's experienced at present is really focused and centered within the physical body. Becoming aware again of the boundaries of the physical body, air on the skin and clothing on the skin. Little by little allowing the breath to adjust in length and speed towards something more suited to movement and more suited to activity again. And bringing movement into the toes and into the feet, and movement into the fingers and into the hands. And there, still lying on the mat, reaching a stretch upwards, reaching a stretch downwards, letting the legs come back into the center if they're still wide. Feeling the muscles engaging about the spine, all through the back, into the arms and into the legs. You can always hug the legs in and towards you and circling the hips on the mat 2 or 3 times. And as you're ready, just rolling over, coming onto one side and through towards a seated position. Om Shanti Namaste. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you've enjoyed this Parivrtta Trikonasana Revolved Triangle practice. Hope to see you again soon on Movement Style channel. Thanks for watching.